Welcome to another team selection video ahead of Game Week 20. Game Week 19 was pretty poor from my end, and yeah, I just do not leave transfers up until the final few minutes basically, but at the same time try to leave them quite late, so you have to find that kind of special window between 10 to 15 minutes. But we've got to talk about my team, we've got to talk about what I did wrong and the things that I could improve on, and also what we're going to do about the postponed fixtures in Leeds versus Aston Villa and Arsenal against Wolves. So let's get straight into the video. On screen you can see my points, 37, and I'm all out. You know, I've got no one else left. No Ronaldo, which will probably severely damage my rank, especially if he hauls. 37 points, which is awful. From the point the website crashed to just all the news that was coming out about Foden being on the bench, Antonio as well, and just other scenarios that weren't ideal, to be honest. And also looking at Leicester and also Crystal Palace, they were depleted, and it was actually a good opportunity to maybe target them with the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Harry Kane, Heung-min Son. I don't think it went too badly, but at the same time, those who did free hit would have gained slightly more, but I've seen some people without using the chip actually getting, 70 plus points, which is very good in this game week. So obviously congratulations to all of you, and I definitely will be looking to use the free hit, maybe even Game Week 20, maybe even Game Week 22, but otherwise probably later on in the season to try to be aggressive with those double and blank game weeks. But as you can see, Ramsdale with a clean sheet, pretty happy with that, and he is still, for me, one of the best goalkeepers in the game. But we do have a decision on our hands whether to sell him or keep him. And for me, the three best goalkeepers, Ramsdale, Jose Sarr and David De Gea right now. And still Ramsdale is at the top, but there are some arguments to sell him. Looking at my defence, Reece James with an own goal, so that's 0 points from him yet again. He's just been absolutely awful in the last 5-6 game weeks, and before that he was, pretty much essential almost. Then you look at Joao Cancelo, I captained him, and to be honest, I don't really regret it. From those I had, he was the one I was always going to captain, and he got an assist at least to salvage something, but conceded 3 goals. City were absolutely controlling the game, but all of a sudden Leicester, produced a response, but City still won 6-3 in the end. But yeah, Cancelo, still disappointing. I needed some captaincy points, which could have probably saved the game week for me, but it wasn't meant to be. Marcos Alonso as well, nothing really. But yeah, double Chelsea defence is just not worth it right now. And in the end, Chelsea did win the game, but their defence is just nowhere near as solid as it used to be. Then we have Tino Livramento. West Ham lost 3-2 at home to Southampton, but Livramento, no points from him. But at the same time, I never really expected it. And at least, him conceding came from Antonio scoring off the bench. And, I can't really complain too much about that. I was always going to, have someone miss out. It's very unlikely for both of them to haul at the same time. Douglas Luiz with 2 points, it's just pretty much what he's going to do most weeks. But same with Bernardo Silva, playing as a false 9 or playing in midfield or whatever. It doesn't really matter because he's just not getting the points right now, and it's been going on for several weeks. He is nailed, that's what I like about him. I think he will get the occasional haul, but it's just nowhere near enough, and he has definitely slowed down, and I'm not really expecting that to change too much, if I'm being completely honest. City have so many options, and with players like Mahrez on the pitch, I think they're the ones who are going to shine, rather than Bernardo Silva. Phil Foden, once again, I talked about this in my deadline stream yesterday. I thought he'd be benched. He was, unfortunately. And yeah, it's just a shame that him and Grealish obviously went out, whatever, and are in Pep's bad books now, because otherwise, yeah, he could have been in for a big haul against Leicester. And also, the one kind of saving grace from this game week is having triple Liverpool heading into Game Week 20 without needing the free hit, because Mohamed Salah against that Leicester team, I think that's going to be an easy captaincy decision for me. Everyone on my bench, as you can see, blanked. Also Diego Jota. Lacazette, that penalty definitely swung things for me, because if it wasn't for that, he would have been on 5 points really and nothing else. But he got 2 bonus points from the penalty that he scored. And yeah, very happy with him, to be honest. So Lacazette, I still think he's a sell. I don't really think he's a great option long term, but for that Norwich fixture, look good. Same of Leeds. So those who brought him in, obviously you get 16 points from 2 game weeks, which is very good, and he can still do well from time to time. He's a good penalty taker, despite his penalty miss recently. But yeah, took this one against Norwich. Then Mikel Antonio, happy with him, as I said before. But on the whole, really, a lot of blanks, a lot of people missing out, which is obviously not ideal. And if obviously the site hadn't crashed, I actually might have played my free hit chip in the very last seconds. But that's why it's good to have a clear idea of what you're going to do. I was still kind of in 2 minds about whether I should take a hit to get Ronaldo or make a free transfer to Heung-min Son. So that's something I did wrong, and I should have, just made a decision earlier on, and then maybe 10 or 15 minutes before the deadline, be able to make the transfers. But I still think, obviously, the website should be better, and a lot of people were in a similar situation to me. Even those who were able to carry over those transfers or play those free hits, they had people on the bench like Harry Kane and all sorts of, weird scenarios. People captaining Gallagher when they were going to obviously change it, but they couldn't do so because the website crashed. But yeah, FPL haven't really acknowledged it, which I think is pretty poor from them. But at the same time, I'm not too surprised. I didn't really expect them to kind of take responsibility for it. But I already said this, I do take responsibility for the things I did wrong because I did do something wrong. But at the end of the day, I'll just learn from this, move on. It kind of, something similar happened in Euro 2020 Fantasy. I remember that. So it's something to keep in mind. It can happen in FPL too. Let's look ahead now to Game Week 20. And if we were actually looking at my Game Week 19 team selection, it was looking very promising. I had a very good team for that game week, but obviously things didn't go to plan. And here we are again with the two postponed games I mentioned earlier. Arsenal versus Wolves and Leeds versus Aston Villa. Both games are off. So as you can see, Ramsdale, Lacazette and Douglas Luiz are all missing for me. Ben Foster's already injured, so I can't have him to rely on at least. So some people might do a goalkeeper transfer. And I already talked about this. I think the three best goalkeepers are Ramsdale, Jose Sa and David De Gea. Jose Sa is also blanking because obviously he plays for Wolves. So that really leaves David De Gea or maybe Robert Sanchez as a replacement for Ramsdale. And if we actually look at the fixtures, there are some arguments to get rid of Ramsdale. So he's blanking this week. Then he's facing Man City, then Tottenham away, then some pretty decent fixtures in Burnley at home and Wolves away, but then a blank in Game Week 25 and then another blank in Game Week 27. Now those blanks will form double game weeks in the future, but if we're looking from now up until Game Week 27, that's pretty much 3 blanks, 2 really poor fixtures, and then only 1 pretty ideal fixture in Burnley. So the way I'm looking at this actually is maybe this is a chance to actually sell Ramsdale, who I probably wouldn't have got rid of if he had played against Wolves, because you don't really want to make these goalkeeper transfers, do you? But I think this is a good time to sell Aaron Ramsdale, despite the fact that I think he's the best goalkeeper in the game. But if you're looking long term, he's someone you want to get from Game Week 28 onwards, rather than having him from now up until Game Week 27. And in that case, I think the simple move for me would be to get either Robert Sanchez or David De Gea in goal. And I am leaning towards David De Gea, and we'll see how they do today in their match against Newcastle. But I do expect a bit more of an improvement defensively compared to what they had under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But Ramsdale could be making way in my team. And then looking at my defence, double Chelsea defence, I just don't like it. Reece James is so poor right now, he's not worth the money. And if this continues, of course, he's also another one to sell. But regardless, a bit similar to Arsenal, they have some blank game weeks coming up. Chelsea, you look at game weeks 24 and 25, they're blanks because of the Club World Cup. Some poor fixtures in Liverpool and City, and then Tottenham. So really, after this game week, I'm actually going to be looking at getting rid of these Chelsea players. The problem really is, if postponements come about and Chelsea aren't, they're still playing and they're not affected by it, it makes it more difficult to get rid of their assets, which probably is the right thing to do right now. But yeah, you've got to prioritise. And if you are down to 9 or fewer players, really, you want to focus on getting to 11 rather than maybe focusing on the weaknesses of your team, which is what I was doing. And then that was helping me get those green arrows and be in a good position in future game weeks. But now with these postponements, and obviously we all have to adapt, that has kind of changed things and halted me a little bit. But the same goes for so many people, so it's not just me, but I'm just explaining the situation with the Chelsea players who honestly I want to get rid of. So in the coming weeks, I think both Reece James and Alonso will make way, if, of course, there aren't too many other postponements that affect my transfer plans. Joao Cancelo is going to stay no matter what. It was disappointing to captain him and he didn't really deliver, but at the same time, I think he's just a great option in the long term. The same goes with Trent, so I think those are 2 mainstays in my team. But as you can see with the rest of my defence, Ramsdale, James and Alonso, they could all be making way within the next few game weeks. And then Salah captain, I think it's a no-brainer for me this week. And hopefully the game continues and it goes ahead. But I look at the City options, maybe Cancelo could be good. Foden if he starts, but is he going to start? I'm not too sure about that. But I think he's not going to stay in Pep's bad books forever. It's just a lesson, and he will definitely be back in the side. He's very important to City, but at the same time, they can also rely on Sterling, Riyad Mahrez, and many others like Jack Grealish to play on the left wing or just wherever across the front three. But it's a bit disappointing. And Foden's another one that I was actually looking to get rid of, also Bernardo Silva. So as you can see, really, there's quite a few areas where I'm kind of looking to change things. Diego Jota I'm happy with, same with Salah of course, but Salah's also going to be a sell after this game week because he's going to the African Cup of Nations potentially, and he could miss up to 3 game weeks after that fixture against Chelsea. So really, it's not ideal, but that Leicester fixture, I think, should be a green for Liverpool. I think it's a fantastic fixture, and if they defended the way they did against City, then I think Salah could be in for an insane haul. And another kind of problem I have with my team is Dennis. I think he's a great option against West Ham this week, who are severely depleted, to be fair. The problem really is with Dennis is he's going to the African Cup of Nations potentially as well. Let's see what the final squad is for Nigeria. But yeah, otherwise I think he's a hold, someone I could definitely rely on. Another advantage for Watford this week is that they have such a big break heading into that West Ham fixture, and West Ham only just played yesterday, so they barely have any time to recover. Even though it's not intentional, these postponements are creating a unlevel playing field, if we're being honest, but it's just how it is, and teams and managers all have to adapt. The same goes for the players and everyone else, really. But yeah, as you can see here, Livramento obviously will be first on my bench. Lacazette and Douglas Luiz, I can't count on them, but really what I'm going to be focusing on right now is probably getting rid of the Arsenal players. Lacazette was always going to be a sell from Game Week 20 onwards, and I think this just gives me a good excuse to get rid of him. The problem really is that I want to get Ronaldo in because Watkins is not someone I can count on and go to because his game is also postponed, and that would have been an easy switch from Lacazette to Watkins. But I don't have enough money to go from Lacazette to Ronaldo without selling Salah. So that's where I'm in a bit of a difficult situation. I also don't have Heung-min Son or Harry Kane or any of these other options that are probably going to be very good over the next 5 to 10 game weeks and probably will outscore Salah. But it's going to be difficult. I think Salah, keeping him is an advantage, but there's also an advantage in my case to actually play the free hit. But yeah, Lacazette and Ramsdale should be making way very soon. And now let's talk about my transfer plans. Let me know what you think of my transfer plans and my team and all of that. And if you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. We're trying to get to 9,000 subscribers. So all the support, all the channel members, everyone who's joined the Discord server, and the link is in the description below. All of that is much appreciated. And you can still join the league, which is still open, 886 RGT, as you can see on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And the transfers are pretty simple. If I do decide to make 2 free transfers, I think I'm going to be getting David De Gea in goal to replace Aaron Ramsdale and Broja instead of Lacazette. Now, I already talked about this. I would rather have Watkins or Ronaldo, but I can't afford Ronaldo without selling Salah, and it just makes no sense this week to sell Salah after I did keep him, even though it wasn't intentional. And also Watkins, he is blanking. So I'm in a bit of a difficult situation. I could still play the free hit. It is a possibility, which I am thinking of, but I think the best course of action is to make 1 or 2 free transfers and just get rid of those Arsenal players, really. I still like Martinelli, Saka and a few others, but it's difficult to really go for them when they're going to have some blanks in the future and also some very tough games. I just don't really think it makes too much sense to bring in these Arsenal players, and they can still do very well. They offer great value, but I think this is a good time, at least in my case, to be getting off those Arsenal assets and bringing in other players like David De Gea and Broja. And with Broja, he's only going to really be a bench fodder option who can come in when needed. He's facing Tottenham this week. He's not someone I want in my starting 11, but if Foden continues to be benched and a few other factors come into play, then I might have to rely on him even in Game Week 20. But if it wasn't for these postponements, I think Foden would definitely be making way soon. One of those Chelsea defenders, and maybe upgrading Douglas Luiz even to a Martinelli despite those blanks, and just having more options on the bench that can come on when needed. But yeah, I think those are going to be my transfer plans. I don't want to overcomplicate it. Let me know what you think, and in future weeks it will definitely be a case of maybe getting Son in for Salah and also Ronaldo in for Dennis, and I think that just simplifies things. I can afford all of those, and I can also then start to maybe downgrade one of those Chelsea players if I ever need any money, and I should be in a good position. After the double Game Week 22, Livramento is another one who could be on the chopping block, but for now I'll keep him. I know he's been poor for some time now, but I think he's got some good fixtures and he's still a decent option around that price, and then I can start to look to upgrade him and then have a good squad going into the future. Well, that's it. There we have it. That's my team selection for Game Week 20. Not much time to kind of reflect or to make advanced plans, and even then you can make such meticulous plans, have everything mapped out, and the postponement or maybe many more can definitely alter your thinking, and you just have to adapt. That's the main thing. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new, like I said before, and good luck with Game Week 20 and the rest of the season. And this Christmas period, I know it's been very hectic. It should calm down over the next month or two, but still we've got to be prepared for any eventuality and possibility, and I think we can do that. And we've obviously talked about the chip strategy and all of that. We've talked about the planning, and we can still look long term, but we also have to make these short-term moves like Ramsdale and Lacazette out to then field an 11 and have as much squad depth as possible, which is going to be needed. And people have asked me before, should I get a second goalkeeper? I still think if you can, then do it. It's not a priority, but as you can see, if you have Ramsdale and now you're down to 0 goalkeepers, you're going to have 10 men unless you make a goalkeeper transfer. So the ideal thing would be to have 2 playing goalkeepers. I could still do that and keep Ramsdale and keep all that value, and that's why I'd want to keep him ideally. But yeah, at the end of the day, if I do that, I'd also be blocking moves to Heung-min Son and Cristiano Ronaldo simultaneously, and that's not something I want to do just because of a goalkeeper transfer. But once again, thank you very much for watching. Join the Discord, the FPL League, and also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, as well as subscribing to the channel and all that good stuff. And I'll see you next time.